What's up, guys? It's your girl, Victoria J. from 12th Street Talk Back, where transparency is our love language. You guys know that transparency is very important to me because I believe it's the key to bridging the communication gap. Bridging the communication gap in our community amongst our generations has been very near and dear to my heart for a very long time. And I've been working feverishly to spark the heart conversations in our community. As the world changes, people change, life experiences can change us. Sometimes it can be hard to express yourself to the ones that you love. We all suffered something during the pandemic, some more so than others. Life can be like an emotional roller coaster, and that's why I'm grateful to BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this podcast. Guys, did you know with BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, all you need to do is to answer a few questions about your needs and preferences during therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with a licensed therapist from their network. Then sit back, relax, and you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable via text, phone, video call. You can even schedule live sessions. And if your therapist is not the right fit for you for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. With BetterHelp, you get the same quality and professionalism that you can expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist that is custom picked for you. More scheduling, flexibility, and the best part of all, at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/12th Street. That's better, HELP.com/12th Street. I've also linked it in the description below. Let's start bridging the communication gap together. One, two, three. Welcome back to Queen Tables Talk with my guest, my co-host today. I hope everybody's doing great on this Friday evening that God has blessed us in, has decided to bless us in today. Welcome, 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 one and all that's tuning in. Welcome, my queens, Angel and Nikki from the Kickin It with Your Girlz podcast, and the queen herself, one half of the Things About Us podcast, Fionna. How are you ladies doing tonight?
Doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm keeping it in the road. I'm holding it in the middle, being Victoria. You don't know which one you're going to get today. You might get Victoria. You might get Vicky.
We shall see.
Right. Me and all my shenanigans, Miss Fionna. So, ladies, I am so glad to have my queens on today, my co-host. I have one question for my new co-host, Kicking It with Your Girlz. And we like to start our show off with asking, how do you feel about being a Black woman in today's world? And we'll start with you, Miss Angel.
All right. If you would have asked me this before the pandemic, I probably would have had a different answer. But honestly, I like being a Black woman in today's world. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like if anything else, Black women are getting acknowledged more than what they were in the past. And then it's not even by choice. It's more so like you're being forced to love us, whether you do or not. I mean, let's look at Simone Biles. Let's look at Sha'Carri, the runner. All of them are like doing great, and they're forcing you to love them, even though you try to count them out, but you can't, you know? So I like it.
Yay. What about you, Miss Nikki?
Yeah, the same. I love being a Black woman, especially when you see how far we've come and how far we can go. You know, just paying attention to that sometimes, just living in being yourself and realizing who you are as a Black woman, it's encouraging, it's motivating, and I am enjoying my journey as a Black
You
woman.
embrace that. We gonna embrace our Blackness. We are queens.
Absolutely,
We gonna
absolutely.
embrace our crowns. We gonna fix them crowns that they tried to make crooked. Ain't that right, Fee?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I had a whole lot of thoughts. I didn't know which way I wanted to go with today's episode, but then I got to thinking, because I'm over the 50 line, and I said, you know what? Healthcare, going to the doctor and paying them co-pays is an extra bill the older that you get. Do y'all agree with me? It's an extra bill. You know how you used to go once a year, but now if they find something or if they want to do some test or whatnot, it seems like it's an extra bill every month. I wanted to dive in a little bit of healthcare, and then there's some things that I saw or was listening to, like the young lady that her doctor told her to abort her child because she wouldn't be able to carry it to full term, and she went to 3 or 4 different doctors. Finally got to a African American doctor, and they told her she has choices. So then it got me to thinking about my health care, my doctors, and do we ask for second opinions? Do we go and get second opinions, or we just take them at their word for our health? And how do you feel about your doctors today? I mean, I'm kind of, I'm in between. I have some good physicians, but if I had my preference, all of my doctors would be African Americans. I'm just gonna keep it real.
I agree with you 100%. Like, I go out of my way to find Black doctors. Like, that's my search. Before they showed the pictures, I would look at the name and guess, like, oh, is this a sister? Is this a brother? I don't know, but. And then they invented Google, so now you can Google and see. So I tried, like, my OB is Black. I went above and beyond to find her. It was very hard because they tend to hide them in the state in which we live in. You really have to dig deep. But I wish I could find a Black pediatrician, a Black normal, like your regular doctor, like a Black doctor for everything you need one for. Because I feel like they know us more versus other doctors, and all of them may not be that way, but you feel like you just being rushed. You just the number on the paper, and they just gonna swipe your insurance card like a Visa. So I agree with you, Victoria. Like, Black doctors I would love to just have a whole roster of Black doctors on my team.
I do. I feel that way. I had threatened a heart attack about 2 years ago, and the third doctor that I got to was a Black doctor. They were doing all these tests that I felt like was just running up my insurance and sending me to friends. And I finally got a hold of a Black one, and he said, you know what? He said, get some rest. He said, take the summer off, get some rest. Your numbers were off the chart, but you got to think, they've scared you up and had you going seeing so many different people, doing so many different things. He said, my prescription to you is to get some rest. And I went back in, and my numbers were normal. And it got me to thinking, as well as at my church, they had a couple health fairs, and a couple doctors, African American doctors, come in and talk to us at the church about knowing our numbers, about our blood pressure, being diabetics, all those things. And I found out a lot of valuable information. But like you said, Angel, they're not in certain states. They are hard to find, because when I tell you the congregation was bombarding these doctors trying to get on their list, they were already full.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest thing now, is trying to find one that you can get into. And I know here, after the pandemic, it just became almost impossible to get an African American doctor. I will tell you my experience in the past, I have had bad experience with male doctors and me being a female. And it started with my primary care physician, way back when I had first got married the first time, fairly young. I have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I didn't know at the time. I just know at the age of 15, I started having irregular periods. That was just a thing for me. I would skip a month here and there. By the time I got to college, I was going anywhere from 3 to 6 months, in between periods. So when I got married, I had talked to my primary care physician. Well, let me back up a little bit. Even before I got married and was curious about, what's going on with me, I would go in, when you go into the doctor's office as a woman, the very first question they ask you is, when was your last period? And it would get to the point where I would come in and he would say, when was your last period? And it was like, oh yeah, I forgot, you don't have regular periods, and then just go on.
That's not normal though.
Exactly. Very inconsequential to him. And so after, I think maybe the third time, I was like, okay, I didn't care for it, because you are clearly unconcerned about my health. That doesn't raise any red flags for you. And he was a young Asian doctor. So I talked to him about, wanting to find out what's going on with me because I have irregular periods. So he referred me to a fertility specialist, another white man. I go into the doctor, explain what's going on. He immediately writes me a prescription for fertility pills. No examination, no history, no nothing. I just tell him I'm having irregular periods, I'm married, thinking about having children, want to know what's going on. Immediately writes a prescription. So I'm like, okay, well, that's odd. So I take the pills the first month, still no period. And so, as they tell you what these pills do, will increase your chances of ovulation. And then you can release multiple eggs at a time. Second month, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop these pills because I don't want to get pregnant with 18 babies at one time. And two, I still don't know what's wrong with me.
All right.
So I found, and like, you have to become an advocate for yourself. So I found me a female gynecologist. Within less than 3 weeks, knew exactly what was wrong with me. What was going on. So that was my bad experience, with doctors. And at that time, it wasn't a thing to look for Black doctors. I'm kind of dating myself because I'm in the 50 club too. So
you are.
Yes, I am 50. I will be 51 next month.
Yeah, we talked about it on our last Queen's Talk. I can't wait to have you all over my social media representing.
But yeah, so that was my first experience, bad experience medical wise with doctors, not paying attention, not really caring about your health or what's going on. And like I said, for me at the time, it was having a male doctor versus female doctors.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in asking questions and knowing what's going on with me. Like, I have no problem asking you, why are you saying this? What do you subscribe? Why would I take this? Why would I need this? Because I had experience where, and I have medical conditions, so I need to know exactly what are you talking, making sure that, like, I go to the doctor with my mom because she won't ask questions, but I will. So she was like, I need you to go with me, and no problem, because I got questions. Why are you doing this test? What is this for? What is this going to do? And I just recently had to find, I was looking for a primary doctor forever. I just found one that I like, and she is an African-American woman. So far, I really like her. So, because I was looking like, no, I would try one. Like, no, you, sir. It was an Asian man. Like, no, I don't care for you. And you, like Angel said, he run in, ask a couple questions, talking about come back in a month. For what? We ain't even did nothing this time. Like, what am I coming back in a month for? So we can do this all over again? So, no.
I think it's a Southern thing, Fee.
You know what? To Fee's point, I had a male OBGYN. I was young. I had a male OBGYN. My mother had just took me because I guess he was my pediatrician. That's back when your doctor could be everything. You didn't have to go to 50 different doctors. You went to one doctor. So when I got old enough, I felt uncomfortable going to a male because I'm like, we don't have the same parts. So I don't feel like your studying is going to equip you mentally to handle what I got going on. I mean, because you don't have it. So I understand you feel like 100% my OBGYN had to be a woman. And then once time started changing and you start noticing like, oh, okay, Black people are moving around in this medical industry. Let me find a Black OB. So, yeah, I agree.
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think as time has marched on from my youth, we're getting involved in a lot more things as Black women and Black men. You know, lawyers, doctors, politicians. We're getting involved. So I like that part about being a Black woman and being able to get out there and roar. But I feel the same way that you do, Fee. Like I said, I don't know if it's a Southern thing or not. The Black doctors here are far in between, and they want to hurry up and write you a prescription for something without even checking you. And that was my encounter. One of my family members and my mother got misdiagnosed as diabetics, and they immediately put them on insulin, only to find out later on for my mom, she was never supposed to be on insulin. By the time we found out, it had affected her kidneys down to 2%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's, I guess it's the luck of the draw, but it got me to thinking about, how I felt and how I want to really search for African-American doctors. Not saying that, everybody's not a great fit. And I'm not saying that any other culture isn't, but I guess I'm saying I'd be happier or more comfortable with somebody that looked like me.
And I'll tell you what's so ironic about the situation with me. So I'm immediately looking for another, primary care physician after going through this fiasco with my original primary care and then the fertility doctor. And like I said, of course, at that time, the African-American doctors here were few and far between. And I ended up finding a doctor. It was another male, and I was like, oh, Lord. So I went to the appointment, my initial appointment, and I scheduled an appointment just to meet him so he could go over my files and everything. So I'm in the waiting room, and in comes this very senior white male. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, my God, what have I done? Here I go again. He looks like he has one foot out of the door, whether it's going to be retirement or bright light, whichever. But unbeknownst to me, he was the best doctor I've had because his bedside manner was immaculate. And I could tell that every time I came in, he had already studied my chart for that day. You could tell he comes in and prepares for the patients he's going to have. Because every day every time I would go and he would walk in that examination room, he would go over my complete history. And, it might be 5 or 10 minutes. He'd be like, oh, yeah, so this, and he'd run it all down. And then he'd be ready. Okay, so what are we here for today? And I absolutely loved him. And then, of course, it wasn't very long, maybe a couple of years, and he decided he was ready to retire.
That's usually how it goes when you find one.
Yep. And like my OBGYN, she's not African American, she's white, but like I said, having that female. And so I've been with her since before I had kids. And my daughter is 20. She'll be 21 in March, and she's still my OBGYN. I love her. She's,
I think it's awesome. I think it's also like finding a doctor that's that's actually trying to make sure that you are okay. Race may not play a part, like race would be beneficial, but I'm sure you may have a black doctor that rushes you in and out, write you a script, don't listen. I think it's just more so with other races. But if you happen to find a doctor that comes in and, like you said, know what's going on with you and could sit there and talk to you, and because a lot of doctors don't do that. Like my primary care physician, the first day I saw him, he did that. And I was like, oh, I was about to trade you in for real. We are not the same race. I didn't think this is gonna work out, you know. I'm like, but then we start sitting there talking, and we was talking about regular life stuff, and he asked me my concerns and how I felt and things I wanted. I was like, okay, I can keep you on the roster. But you know, I think you kind of know based on how they treat you. So if you come in and you like, oh, my arm hurt, okay, well, let me give you this prescription for some Vicodin and oxycodone, and then you sitting there like, what? And I mean, it just hurt today. You know, you don't want to check it out.
So, right.
You don't want no images. I can't, you know, something.
Right.
Yeah.
Just take this and go.
Get over the counter. I know, right?
And then, like you say, always come back in a couple of weeks so we can, you know, see how
the situation.
I know.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
like
you're
that
right.
situation is a new bill.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
But,
very true.
Truth be told, energies don't lie. Like you say, when you get that feel, you know if they're there for the money or if this is their profession. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them want that money, and I respect it. But do you still have passion and compassion, you know, for your job?
Right. You have a job to perform in order to get the money. It's not meant for you to take 50 patients, halfway listen to them, and then just say, okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks and we'll get another check. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a doctor. It's an oath that they take. And some of them adhere to it and some of them don't.
Yeah, you definitely have to be your own advocate in that case. Like, and when you are uncomfortable, you got to be out, because I will not, like, you walk in and you ain't got no questions, you just walk in, walk out. No, I'm not going to continue to give you my money and we haven't had a conversation, or we're not getting anywhere, or I'm going to continue coming here and nothing has changed, nothing has gotten better. You know, we're dealing with the same issue when I first came in. Like, I'll find somebody until I'm comfortable.
And to all your point, that was great. You know, and I certainly don't have a black doctor other than my heart specialist. And I loved my OBGYN. I recently had to change. And no disrespect to any of the other cultures out there or races. Like you said, Fee, the things about us it's the thing about us. So in doing the Queen's Table Talk, sometimes I want to talk to people that look just like me. So this is not a dig at any other race, just to put that out there. But sometimes you do want to see someone that looks like you, that know we go through different struggles in life than other races. I mean, we all have our different stories. With that being said, my OBGYN, I had loved her last year, but with the healthcare in North Carolina, it's kind of crazy. Like, we do the healthcare markets, and the insurance company that I was with, they moved out of North Carolina, basically got ran out of North Carolina because they were paying like 80% of our bills. Like the surgeries I had, 3 back surgeries. I also had the biopsy that we talked about last month, Fee. And I was getting bills for like maybe 100 and some change, but when you seen what the insurance company paid, it was in the 1,000. Well, they pretty much ran them out, and it started me to thinking, it's a money game. It's a money.
Absolutely is.
Absolutely. From the top to the bottom. And I'm going to tell you in ways that you don't realize, because being a caregiver, I have been a caregiver for my aunt for almost a year now. And she having to go to a nursing home, and, you know, I'm talking to these case managers and everything, and they give you a list of places to choose from. So I choose these places, and then they come back where they've assigned her to a place, and this is the only facility that would accept her. Come to find out, one of the nurses she ended up having at this facility is somebody that I know personally. And then I just so happened to run into her at a friend's birthday gathering a couple weeks ago. And I was like, hey, I told my aunt that I saw you. She's so excited. And she let me know basically that they even get paid for referrals. So saying that this is the only place that would accept her, they're getting kickbacks off of all this. You know, and it's front. And who would expect? You know, I get it with doctors saying prescribing you medications because the reps come in and, you know, you get this and that. But just a general caseworker, as far as referring someone to a facility, you know, it's in ways that you wouldn't imagine. And I'm sure it's even deeper than what we know.
Oh, absolutely.
I played that whole thing with my mom for years, me and my sister, and the references, and even with them taking her whole Social Security check, and we would have her in the top of the line nursing home, and then they'll go, oh, we can't accommodate her needs here. She's not self-sufficient enough. But what it was about the amount of her Social Security check versus their private rooms, her own bathroom. Eventually, we ended up having to put her into a home that we didn't really care for, which required somebody to be there around the clock, making sure she got bathed, making sure she got dialysis and the amenities, getting her hair done, and things that we were paying for out of pocket. So I feel like it is a money game.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of it.
Absolutely.
I feel like it has become one. The moment that they said, yo, one doctor can't treat you for everything, is the moment they realize, well, we can force these doctors to specialize in a specific thing. So if we force them when they're going through school to specialize in OBGYN or psychiatry or whatever field we force them to go into, then we can make more money, because now it's not you going to see a regular doctor, it's you're going to see a specialist, you know. So now we can add more dollars to that amount, which is
Not
crazy.
that, think about when you specialize, the amount of extra time that you have to spend in school. So that's why I say it's from the top to the bottom and all the way in between.
Absolutely.
A pyramid, you know, scheme.
That's exactly what it is, a pyramid scheme.
And it is. And because even if you talk to people in the medical field, when they run your insurance, they charge you for all kind of things. Have you ever been in a hospital and then look at the bill? If you look at the bill, they charge you for anything, even things like, I was in the hospital and I take regular medicine. I had my medicine, but I can't take my own medicine. They have to give it to you so that they can charge you for the medicine that you already have. You know, it's all a game. They charge you for everything, aspirin, alcohol. You ask for anything in there, whether you ask for it or not, if they bring it to you, they charge you and your insurance company for that.
We're talking about you're paying $7 per aspirin.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Don't just look at what they're charging you for. Look at how much they're charging you. And God forbid you go in. I went on a weekend, so you see one doctor. One night I stayed overnight, 25 hours in the hospital. So I'm getting billed from two different doctors because one doctor saw me, and then the next day they had a different doctor. You get charged for the anesthesiologist, and then all the anesthesia. Oh, you're right.
Yep.
You're right.
All them separate bills I got in the mail with all those surgeries. But look, I had a girlfriend, you hated for her to come see you if you had an emergency room visit, but that was her thinking. They charge you for everything. So she had the cabinets, putting stuff in her purse. I'm like, don't come
somebody
see
paid
me.
for this.
Somebody, look, they gonna walk us up out of here and have us in handcuffs. But I understood the thinking. I mean, joking, they charge you for absolutely everything. It's like they charge you for the air you breathe. Don't breathe too loud.
So when they start scanning something, please know that they have charged your account.
Please
we need to scan your bracelet. We need to, you know. So they charge you for I was in the hospital one time, and my insurance, like they paid 70% if you wasn't admitted, and once you were admitted, they paid 90%. I was in there for almost 2 days, and they said I was never admitted because they had a specialized area for emergencies. So it wasn't upstairs. Basically, you didn't go upstairs, so you're not technically admitted.
That was a scam. Wow. That was a scam if there ever is.
Yes, it was a scam.
I feel like if you're somewhere for 24 hours, you should have been admitted. If you were there over...
I can't go home. If you tell me I cannot go, I am for hospitals. If you tell me I cannot leave, I'm admitted. What are we talking about at this point? Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. I looked at my bill one time. I think it was probably after I had my sons, because before then I really didn't pay attention. And I'm like, they like, oh, do you want some more juice? I'm like, yeah, bring all the juice, bring all the, bring everything. I looked at the bill. I'm like, what the heck? And I told my husband, I was like, we about to get so much juice to go. Let me let you know that right now. You charging me this much, I'm getting all of this juice to go. Like, it's crazy. Right. It's insane. Crazy. The things they charge you for. Like if you came in there with your own Q-tips and your own cotton balls and your own alcohol,
they won't let you use it.
They won't let you use it. But see, my thought process would be like, look, I'm bringing this, so you use this. Because you can't charge me for that.
They're probably going to charge you for your own stuff.
Right.
They're going to charge you to store it. We need to store this so we can give you the stuff we charge you for.
You're going to pay the doctor's fee for them administering. We had to count it out and use this little plastic cup. You had to use some of our good water to rinse it down. And there goes another plastic cup. So here we go.
That's why they're so friendly when they ask you, would you like some more?
Yep. Make sure you scan it.
Right.
Piggybacking off what you said, Fee, I thought this was interesting. We were in the middle of, we switched, we had, I guess the renewal for Obamacare. I don't know why I keep saying Obamacare, healthcare, the health markets is always very like November going into that January, and then you got to pay your copay and all that stuff. When we switched last year to this new company that we're with, the OBGYN is now considered a specialist. And I was like, my last insurance company, my copay was $10. $10 is primary, $10 for my OB. So I go flying up in there for my first visit, actually a couple months ago. And she's like, oh, you got to pay $50. I was like, $50? I said, what says for my regular care, it's $10. No, I think it was 20. She said, no, we're considered a specialist. I said, well, then why on my card does it say 40, but you're telling me 50? Well, your first visit, you got to pay 50. And then we'll bill you for your 40. I said, I'm going to have to go home and regroup. I did not go in there that day. Right. Go home and call some people.
How bad do I need
right. To see what I need to do. And I told my husband, I said, I don't mind paying a little bit extra monthly simply because we don't have to come out the pocket. I feel like I'm coming out of the pocket with this new insurance for everything. And they well know, I'm not going to say their name because they ain't going to sue me. I ain't got no money. But
right.
I'm like, for them to be so big, I feel like I'm coming more out of pocket than with my own insurance company, which I had never heard of, which I love. If I knew where they moved, I probably moved there. I mean, my health care, I could go to the doctor and say, I broke a fingernail. And they was paying for everything like 100%. I would get those bills. I was like, I only owe $10. Let me hurry up and write them a check for this.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's why that company is so big.
Right.
That's why the company is so big.
Mm-hmm.
It's
people.
To your point, you said now that the OBGYN is considered a specialist. That's crazy because women has to go to an OBGYN in order to get certain things checked out. So they should not be a specialist for us. But I believe you when you say that, because I remember I had a bladder infection. I called my OBGYN And I said, oh, I got a bladder infection, probably need to come in, blah, blah, blah. And this was like after I had my sons. And she said, oh, the assistant was like, oh, you're no longer pregnant, right? I was like, no. She was like, okay, so you got to go to your primary care physician. I said, why? That doesn't make sense because you're all things vagina, right? So why am I going to this man that I didn't sign up for, you know? She's like, yeah, we don't specialize in that unless you're pregnant. I'm just like, that makes no sense. Like,
Yes.
you're
This
a female
the first
doctor.
I ever heard of it.
And that might be regional because here, I used to even get my annuals with my primary care. The only reason I stopped doing all that is because my PCP is a man. And so anything, if you got to look at it, I'm going to see my OBGYN because I don't want a strange man in my hoo-ha.
You're right. I agree.
That makes me uncomfortable. That's one thing that makes me uncomfortable. I have avoided that like the plague, thank God. I don't want no male doctor. I don't care if this is your specialty. Going, because they hands a little bit bigger than I just don't. They don't know how to be gentle.
They don't know how to be delicate.
That just ain't for me. That ain't for the kids. So I prefer female. But then on the flip side of that, I done ran into some females that was snooty. Like I was just talking to my sister, and she's been switching her diabetic doctor. I don't know what they call them, but she's a diabetic, and she's been switching, and she happened to get a doctor that she didn't care for that looked like us, that was a little bit too snooty. And I said, you know, I guess it happens in all races. It really does. You know, all walks of life. Well, lady, I guess we got our thoughts on that. No offense to anyone listening that's a doctor that's not Black. We just trying to get our thoughts out.
We're just trying to figure this healthcare thing out.
That's right.
The thing is, you know, racially, we have medical trauma in our history. You know, we have trust issues, and it's warranted. So,
not even just in our history, Fee. Recently, they're still reporting on how many African American women are passing during childbirth because of insufficient prenatal care, and they had doctors. It's not like they did not have doctors. They had doctors that didn't adhere to the warning signs of things that was to happen. So it's still very much so realistic.
But I'm going to tell you even more so than that. There's this Black doctor, and I can't think of his name for the life of me, and I wish I could, because follow him on TikTok. And he started as a resident, and he used to just talk about the disparities between African Americans and others when it comes to medical treatment, diagnoses, and everything. Number one, because a lot of things physically look different on present differently on African Americans than they do on white people. And on top of that, they are still teaching misconceptions in school today, in medical school. Like there are people today, whether they are in school, and teachers that are still teaching that African Americans have a higher tolerance for pain. And if you go through and just look at some of the things that he reports on and shows, it will blow your mind that these things are still happening today. But they are. That's our reality.
Yep.
I didn't even know about the white coats, like, you know, the white coat syndrome, until a few years back when my doctor said, and I always get nervous. I don't care. I guess not like shaking in my boots nervous, but I always get nervous when it's time to go to the doctor because nobody want to hear anything that they don't want to have. And my blood pressure would elevate when I wouldn't have, and I don't have blood pressure problems. And they were telling me about the white coats, what is it, syndrome or something, like you have a fear of doctors coming into the room, and it elevates your blood pressure. And I didn't even know that. And I was like, oh, that's something new.
Well, I'll tell you what doesn't do me any good when it comes to doctors. You know, like we talked about before, having been diagnosed with a major illness, I'm a hypochondriac now. And that's having gone through cancer. Like anything that feels wrong or is aching wrong, I'm running to the doctor. When I probably shouldn't sometimes, but mentally, when you've gone through that before, it changes you. And I know that's for me. And so yeah,
it does. I mean, during the pandemic, when I had those surgeries, just imagine walking in there, waiting in the waiting room, and sometimes for 45 minutes for them to come back and get you to prep you, and then you got to do the anesthesia, and the hubby in the car, they wouldn't let nobody in, and that's enough to get on your nerves not to have somebody there at least with you in the waiting room.
Well, honey, let's talk about the fact the very first time I had surgery, you talk about anxiety or panic attack. When you go into the operating room and they basically lay you on a crucifix. Because it's literally
true though.
Are y'all serious right now?
Yeah. I'll be out before we get to the surgery.
The first time I had
there in the middle of one though.
What?
That was scary. Yeah, that was scary. Because I woke up, I had surgery. I was out, and I remember waking up, and I heard the nurse and the anesthesiologist. They were talking. They weren't looking at me. They were talking to each other, and I heard them say something, and I said whatever she said. I repeated it, and she looked at me, and her eyes got big. And then, of course, she gave me some more medicine and put me back out. But I remember waking up, and I was covered. Like all I could see is her. Like everything else was covered. But it was like so surreal to wake up like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
I had a bad experience like that. Just as I had carpal tunnel surgery, super small surgery. They don't put you to sleep. They give you anesthesia so you don't feel it, but you're awake the whole time. That was not a good experience. I think I literally lay there and cried the whole time.
Yeah,
you was looking at
it. You feel the pushing and the pulling, and you hear those sounds, the clipping, the snapping, the cutting, all of that. No, that was bad.
No, that sounds horrible. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm weird. I would have been all in. Like, let me see.
I would have been like, can you put me to sleep? I know that wasn't the plan, but I feel like I need to go to sleep.
I know that's right.
Yes,
this is good. Great conversation, ladies. Good to hear your thoughts. It's good to hear your thoughts on this. So let's lead up to my next question. What are your thoughts on the state of Black women in today's society? I know Fee and I have had many conversations, and I am very opinionated, but I always like to hear other women's thoughts because maybe it could help me understand a little bit better. Angel, we'll start with you.
State of Black women. Oh God. Okay. I feel like it's with the representation in certain circles. I'm trying to word this right. I feel like the depiction of Black women is not giving a good example for the young girls that's looking up to these people that have been thrown in the spotlight as a representation for a Black woman, especially when you're young and you don't know how to discern the difference between what you see on TV and the background of these people versus this is a celebrity, I should look up to them. So if you don't know how to separate that thought process, I feel like a young girl needs way better role models than what's out here.
Yeah.
I didn't want to list nothing. I was trying to say it correctly. I didn't want to throw any artists under the bus or anything. But in reality, I walk past this group of young girls and I'm just listening to what they're rapping, and I'm like, y'all don't even know what y'all saying for real. Because if you knew what you were saying, you wouldn't be saying it. So I think we need to do better in that aspect.
I do.
Yeah.
I think that the current state of some parents could do better when we say role models, but I do think we got some great role models out there. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
President.
They're there. Yeah, they're just not being seen. Like, putting in the forefront for these young girls to see that the representation is there. They're just in the background, or it's not something that, it's not popular opinion. The things that we should be showing them is not popular opinion. So they're more leaning towards the negative, which is so unfortunate. And if we did have better, representation at home before they even get to schools, you got to show, your kids who they should be striving to be, so that when they get to school, they know who they are. And it makes it so much easier. Be waiting on society to teach your kids, we'll never succeed.
No. And I'm going to say we have good representation. We have some good representation because here recently, the Black woman, especially, politics, etc., we have some strong women who are doing some big things. But like you said, we also have that other narrative that's being pushed, with our African American women in hip hop or the reality TV. The problem is the young generation, they are not, and I'm speaking generally, our younger generation, they're not watching the news to see what's going on, with our world. They're focused on social media and entertainment. So the images that they're getting are not the images that they are the same that we're getting, but we're getting more of a balance than what they're getting.
I think I saw more positive images via social media and in my surroundings when Michelle Obama and Barack was in the White House. We actually, as people, was representing our culture because we didn't want their legacy to be tainted. I feel like we were a little bit more mindful of what we did and what we put out there during those 8 years.
I think they gave us more sense of pride because here we had a power African American couple who it was like almost the Cosby shows all over, but in real life.
Right.
And so, hey, feeling proud, we held our shoulders back a little and we stood a little bit taller because, hey, look at us. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the top. Like, there's nothing beyond that point. If you can get to that point, you can, you can do whatever. You can do anything.
And we're talking about the epitome of class with zero scandal for how many years?
And they tried, honey. They tried.
They was looking. They was trying to make it up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And they could find nothing.
They couldn't, and it hurt them so bad. I feel like, you know what? I feel like at home, I feel like if you have a parent in the house that's actually raising your children, then they're going to know about all of the things that's hidden behind the things you have to dig for in social media. But if you don't have a parent at home raising, then their only thing to look at is what's in the forefront of social media. And unfortunately, what's in the forefront, because we had 8 years of excellence being in the forefront, so you saw more positive things, more positive Black people doing things, Black women succeeding here and there. But now after those 8 years, it's like, okay, no, we want you to look at this narrative, so we're going to push this narrative in the front. So I want you to scroll through all this dysfunction and pretend as if this is the reality of the Black woman, because that way we could keep you from striving to be better in this background social media that you have to dig for to find. And it's unfortunate, it's really unfortunate. And I really wish sometimes the women that are being pushed in the forefront would think like who's looking at them and try to represent themselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
I totally
if they went
agree.
out there believing that they were role models from the get-go, it would be so much easier to represent yourself as a role model. Like go out with that mindset that these kids are watching, no matter what you're doing, just always thinking that kids are watching. So you want what's best for them. But
you can't really pinpoint one. It's so many, from the reality stars to the hip hop to now some of the content creators are more famous or have more followers than a regular actress or actor. So you can't really pinpoint one, but piggybacking off what you said, Angel, if they're more mindful of what they put out there, everybody has a bad day. Victoria J, she's known as, I'm gonna preach the gospel and don't let me get in there, I'm gonna try to save you too. But I have a bad day. We all are flawed. I will have my bad days. I might slip up and curse and hope that nobody see it in public, but I'm not gonna apologize for it because we're human. We are human and we all have bad days. One bad day, I don't feel like makes you uncredible. But when you keep putting that false narrative out there that these girls can look like this, it's okay to be independent and make your money a certain way or do certain things or not even curb your vocabulary. We were not meant to be men, so vulgarness coming from us, and this is what our young ladies are looking up to, and it's the norm. And if you are talking like we are talking now, we're the outsiders. We're the ones that don't fit. We're the ones that don't make any sense to them because all this stuff has become the norm. Taking out the trash. I wish we could just take out some of that stuff. I am fashion by all means. Clothes, hair, nails, lashes. I'm for all that, but be authentic. Be authentic about what you do and how you do it. Everything in moderation. That's just how I feel. Everything in moderation. You can be who you are. I think a lot of us, we take on other people's personalities. I think I was saying when I did the first Queen's Table Talk, coming into 50 has made me, I'm rediscovering myself all over again without kids. But I'm not going to take on anybody else's personality. If anything, I think it's made me bolder in the things that I do, a little bit more outspoken. You remember, Fee, how your parents used to say, you get a certain age, I can say, do what I want to do. But they said that, and it was cute and all, but they still were respectful. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't going to have your 67-year-old grandma walking around trying to shake a tail feather or climbing up the pole. You know what I'm saying?
Back then. Right. The grannies of TikTok now,
they will show you something.
That's because they 40.
But how much money can we realistically make, though, guys? That was another question. I mean, I'm all for social media when it's used in the right way. I got a TikTok. I got 2 Facebooks and a group and Instagram. But how many of us are actually going to get that following where we can start making that money off of those reels and stuff? I think off my Facebook, I made 2 cents this month, and I wasn't even doing it. That's what they sent me, a statement, y'all, for 2 cents.
And did they put in the comments not ratchet enough? Weren't ratchet enough. Right. Maybe if you would have twerked for 5 minutes, you could have got more than 2 cents.
The thing is, it's not even for money. It's attention seeking. On social media, you can be whatever and whoever you present yourself to be. And we all know that's different than what the reality of things are. So it's not even about the money. It's about the attention. It's, we always joke, but it literally is about the likes.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes the more negative it is, the more follows or likes and comments you get, the better you feel. And so it continues and it gets worse instead of better.
I will say this, though. It seems like it's been more Black couples, like married couples and family representation that's like that than I've seen before since I've been on social media. It seems like you're getting way more of that representations, like fathers in the home, even if the mother and the father are no longer together. You have all these reels with fathers with their children on their own time. You didn't have to force them, so that's actually a positive thing that
yeah, absolutely
is out there.
I've seen a lot of that too. That I am very proud of. I'm very proud, especially in our African American community, to see so many single dads stepping up to the plate, and they're showing it through social media. They're showing it through activities in your regular lives that is not on social media platforms. So I'm very proud of that fact.
Exactly, especially with the stigma being associated with Black men as being deadbeats. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Forever. Y'all don't even stay home to take care of y'all kids. You know what I'm saying? So to see that narrative turned around, you can only hope. And pray that this narrative about this representation turns around at some point.
That's one thing about social media. It can't be controlled necessarily by mainstream media, so that the narrative that the media is pushing out to our society about African Americans and about the state of Black family and about Black fathers. If you get on social media, you see the reality of what's going on, because they can't control that, narrative. And so I like that. I agree with what you say, because you can see more of that.
It makes a difference too. I'm glad you brought that up, Angel, because I didn't really think about that. But we have seen a lot. I mean, even in my immediate circle, a lot of our men are stepping up to the plate, taking care of the children, when for so long it was flipped. We were the single mothers. I know I had my run at being a single parent, as well as I do see a lot of couples trying a little bit more to stay together. They're actually fighting for those relationships and trying to bring something positive in. Unfortunately, like we said last month, it's a lot of good out there, but a lot, I guess, as I was thinking about that, Fee, the lot of good, that's why it's good. They're not plastered all over social media, so we don't get to see the good stuff. Most of social media is tainted by all the bad behavior, wanting to put on a persona of something or someone that you're not. So it's out there. I wish we could shine more light on it, but as my girl would say, Sarah Jakes Roberts, that's my girl, y'all. One can chase 1,000, 10 can chase 10,000. If we all get together like what we're doing now, maybe it'll impact lives.
Yeah.
But this has been a great conversation. I got one last question for each individual, you guys, and I'm gonna let you go. What do you think that we can do collectively or individually to help with some of these challenges that we face in the Black community? Instead of just, like, I feel like I complain about a lot of stuff instead of getting out there rolling up my sleeves, which I have. That has been a part of my bucket list, is getting into the community. Like this election, I'm going to be out there, whether I'm just registering people. I haven't figured out what I wanted to do, but I want to roll up my sleeves and be out there.
Yeah.
Well, the number one way is how we carry ourselves. Number one, because regardless of what you say, people are watching what how you present yourself and what you do. Actions speak a lot louder than words. Number two, mentorship. In whatever way that works for you, whether it be you find somebody, or to take under your wing, to mentor and help mold them, teach them, whether it be through a program, community service. I always say, if you are living your life day to day, just taking care of you, and you are not helping someone in a way that is not beneficial to you. And when I say that, helping someone that has nothing, where you're not getting a kickback, if it's not just a family member. We can mentor people in our families that don't have that, but help somebody that doesn't have somebody to mentor. Everybody should be living your life for others in one way or another. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a large scale, whatever fits your life, but find a way to give back. I will always say, I would not be the person I am today had it not been for other people who were reaching back. I have benefited in more ways than one for people who were giving back to the community in one way or another. So how could I, having been a little girl living in the projects, who's now an educator with more than one college degree, not give back in whatever way? So just find some way to donate time to others, to mentor somebody in some way.
That's dope, man. You almost
I love
tears,
that,
girl.
That was real good.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just think about it. I think about my life and just the opportunities. It didn't have to be me.
Yep.
Right.
It was me, and it had to be me for a reason.
I kind of have to acknowledge what I'm going through now.
Yeah,
I have to.
What about you, Angel? Oh, you want me to follow that? Okay. I was like, ooh, that was deep. Let me think of something. I would say, be the best person that you can be, and like put positive narratives out instead of negative. Like, if you do something great, don't do it just for social media to take the picture and share it. Like, do it because it's genuinely in you to do that. You know what I'm saying? And to feed off of what Fee said, I will also add, like she said, somebody paved the way for her to get to where she needed to be. Like, when you get to that place in your life or wherever it is you're trying to go, don't forget about your sisters behind you or your brothers. Help them be their best self if they're open to it. So I would say, just try to be the best you and represent the best that you could be.
Dope.
Okay.
What about you, Nikki?
I always believe that you should be intentional with what you're doing. Like, if you're doing something, do it for a purpose. Don't just randomly do things. And like we said, a lot of people helped me get to where I am. Like, I could have went a whole different direction based on where I come from. So I like that, giving back to the community and helping people, it's like you were helped, because there's so many people that could use support. Or even if you feel like you don't have anything to give, there's always something that you can do for others that you may think is nothing, which would be the world to them. So be intentional with what you're doing and give back to the people around you and near you.
Dope. I guess for me is my new journey, turning my life back over to Christ, looking at the young generation. And I used to be that girl without the social media, without the attention grabber, but I always wanted attention, but in a whole different way. In the 80s and 90s, it was different. We carried pagers and stood by the phone booth. We didn't have all these things to contend with. And when I see the younger girls, not that I didn't have family, I had a wonderful family support, come from a very wonderful family. I wanted to be the oddball out. I wanted to be the black sheep and do what everybody else was doing. And now that I look at my life, I want to be the one to say to that young lady or young man, I used to be you. And it's not that great when you get to be a certain age. It is not that wonderful. Those people that you are mimicking, they will leave you high and dry and leave you holding the bag if you get in trouble. Or they'll be the first one to talk about you behind your back. And when you get to be my age, they're going to act like they don't even know you. So be yourself be the best that you can be. And if you have a family as wonderful as mine that tried to pour into me, embrace that. Embrace that. I thank God that they never gave up on me. And when I was ready to change, they embraced who I was as a young lady and helped me get to the path that I am now. So it breaks my heart to see a lot of the dysfunction that we see out here on the social media pages. But I love me some me. I love taking pictures and all that stuff. I love me some me. And it's okay to love yourself more than loving the outside world, I would say.
Yeah.
It's almost mandatory. Yes.
It is
Absolutely.
almost mandatory. Well, ladies, kicking it with your girls. Thank you so much for
Thank you
taking
for
some
having
time out
us.
of your schedule, queens, to come and chop it up with my girl, me and Fee. Where can we
Thank you for
find you
allowing
guys?
us to join you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome. You're always welcome back. Where can we find you guys? Give us all your socials and not your social security, not your social.
See, it's so many different platforms, so we just keep it simple. You could go to kickingitwithyourgirls.com and find all of our social media and everything over there.
And of
So
course, Miss Fee, one half of the things about us, the queen herself. Drum roll, please.
I am the queen here without my king, but together we are the Thing About Us podcast, and you can find us on all streaming platforms, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, and so on and so forth. We also have it like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well.
And we all know where to find 12th Street Talk Back. We everywhere, but preferably go to our beautiful new website, 12thstreettalkback.com. You don't have to put in www or https, just 12thstreet.com, as well as all of these shows will be linked in the description below. If you are in the listening audience, please rate these shows. Don't just give them a star. Listen to their stuff. Give them comments, rate the show, say something, even if it's one word. We are independent podcasters, and your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, peace and blessings to everyone.